I hit rock bottom, so you don't have to. And the whole point of this page is going to be for me just to explain to you guys fitness, mindset, and weight loss. So just to circle it back a little bit, I was 322 pounds August of last year, probably like 50% body fat. And in this year, from August 2024 to today, which is November or December 2025, I've been able to lose 60 pounds in give or take 13 months. And the run up to what happened in August 24 was essentially, I got laid off. I didn't have any direction. I got really fat and just did not give a shit about my health. And everything just kind of went to shit. That basically became my life in August. And I still remember when January 2024 hit, I just came back from the Dominican, thought I had a job, but the market slowed down for a million reasons. And essentially my boss told me, hey, I can't afford you anymore. And I was like, all right. So January, I was unemployed, no prospects, no ability to get another job. I had maybe like a couple $1,000s in savings, and I blew through that so quickly, you have no idea. And the girl that I was dating at the time, kudos to her, she stuck around for as long as she could. But eventually she just had to call it quits. And honestly, I don't blame her at all, because if I think back honestly and truthfully to where I was in August of last year, I would have left. I would have left 100%. There's no question in my mind. And so kudos to her for honestly for sticking around as long as she did. But ultimately, I woke up one morning, and I remember this clearly because it was right around my birthday in August. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, man, like you're turning 28 and everything has just gone to shit. And in that moment, I told myself there's a version of me 2 years removed from all of this that's going on. I just have to understand that that version of me 2 years down the line is doing certain things that I'm not doing today. And I just have to do those things. And when you hit rock bottom like that, when you're in a position where nothing is working and everything you tried has failed, and you find yourself out of shape, out of ideas, just being low vibration, just, distracting yourself. Like I remember January when I got laid off, dude, I was playing League of Legends till like 5 a.m, just distracting myself, just trying to distract myself from the situation that I was in because it was easier than actually dealing with it. And I suspect that probably a lot of you are dealing with the same things. You're dealing with, things that are going so wrong in your life, and it's so difficult. And I get this to my core, man. It's so difficult to sit down, figure out what you need to do and take action. And for me, I had been in this position a couple of times, not to the severity of last year, but I had learned that, I could wake up and just get going and take action. And so that's kind of what I did. I woke up that morning, I looked at myself in the mirror, I took a couple of photos, and I said, look, you have till 30. That's it, you have till 30. You have 2 years, figure it out. And I just immediately took action. First things first, I gotta get into the gym again. I gotta lose this weight. There's nothing will ever happen for me if I don't lose this weight. And it comes from this idea that everything flows downhill from your body. Your body is the only thing that you will ever feel is real, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is your skin, your muscles, your bones, your internal organs, everything, your brain, everything that you understand about the world comes from your body. Now, if your body is severely overweight like I was, fucking 50% body fat, something insane like that, then you can never be in a position to succeed because you're carrying all of the insecurities that come with being that big. And that's what I dealt with. I dealt with that my entire life. From the time I was in grade 4, 8, 9 years old, chunky boy, all the way through to now. When I look back on every single moment in my life where I've either failed at something, I didn't pursue something or give my best effort, it always came down to the fact that I just was insecure about who I was in my skin. And I said, all right, the first change that needs to happen is the weight loss. I have to get back in the gym, I have to eat clean. So I took action. A lot of people will tell you, okay, sit down and journal about what's going wrong. Journal, think, write down, gratitude journal. No. that's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Because it stops you from taking action. I'm sorry, you can't figure out what's going wrong in your life and actually take steps to move yourself forward if you don't just take action. If I had sat down for that first month and I started gratitude journaling, would it have gotten me any closer to where I wanted to be? No. Journaling comes later, don't get me wrong. Like sitting down and having and building clarity through writing and through self-reflection, that comes later on. But if you were in the position that I was, where you wake up and you just feel like shit because of how big you are, and you're starting to develop sleep apnea because of how big you are, because the fucking fat around your neck is collapsing your windpipe, journaling's not gonna help you. It's not. What's gonna help you is making that step to go into the gym, taking that step to make sure that your nutrition is correct. And I can say that in my position because I've been in and out of the gym for so many years. And I suspect for a lot of you, that's a giant step, right? I remember when I first started going to the gym when I was like maybe like 18, 19 years old, you always have this fear that you're being watched and that you're not doing things correctly. And so if you're in that position, no matter how much I tell you that nobody gives a shit that you're in the gym and nobody's looking at you, you're not going to believe it. Really, you're going to have to just take the smallest step that you can. And the smallest step that you can take is just going for a walk. Which brings me to my next point. Like when I was working through getting myself out of rock bottom, I knew that I had to set the bar low, because in the past when I would try to lose weight, and mind you, I've lost 50 plus pounds twice in my life now. So literally me standing today, I'm in the same place that I was maybe a decade ago. Nothing's changed, except for my mentality. And I know that I'm gonna make it, and I know that I'm gonna build a sub 10% body fat physique. One, because that's what I want, and two, because I know that that's the way forward, and I know that I can achieve it because I've done it before. But the position that I'm in is difficult because I'm in the same spot that I was 10 years ago. But it all comes down to taking that first step and taking that action. And that's how I got myself out of the position that I was in. And I knew that with hitting rock bottom, that there was three things I had to address. First is physical health, which we kind of covered. Second was mental health, and third was financial health. On the mental health part, I didn't really start journaling until about really this year, probably around March. And it was because I was seeing the results that I wanted to see, but my mentality and my mental health was still kind of messed up. And so I was like, all right, well, now is the time to sit down and spend time with myself thinking about my thoughts, which is such a weird concept to me, but you really sit down and you're like, all right, what happened today? What am I thinking about? And the way that I frame it is throughout the day, I would collect certain thoughts. So if I was having really negative thoughts that day, I would sort of keep track of them in my head. And then when it came down in journal, I would dissect why I was having these negative thoughts. If it was a really good day, do the same thing. Why was this a good day? What that helped me understand was that there's deeper things than just my body that were bothering me and that were leading me to make the decisions that I was making. And that's the next step in this journey for you, is going to be, first, you get your physical health in shape, in order. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't start doing your journaling or start doing anything else if you haven't reached your goal. I haven't reached my goal yet. I'm still 40 pounds, 50 pounds away from exactly where I want to be. But the point is that you start with taking action, and then from there you go on into reflection. The third thing was financial health. So I was broke, flat broke, in debt, credit card companies calling me, whatever you can imagine. So I was like, all right, well, I need to get a job. So I got into the trades, right? And I know that the trades are, they have good upward mobility and trajectory. And coming from a university background, I sort of stood out like a sore thumb just because I'm able to articulate myself in a way that other guys can't. But I knew that with that job, I could at least get stable. And that's the first step with when you hit rock bottom, is you just have to get to a point where you're stable. And then once you're stable, you're gonna be able to explore all the opportunities that you want. And that's sort of a little bit about my story of where I'm coming from. And what you're gonna get on this page, again, is gonna be a lot of fitness. It's gonna be a lot of mindset work, journaling work. And really my goal with this page is to help guys that were in my position, to help you guys who are, in the higher body fat percentages, who just think that there's nothing left in this life to live for, and that position that I was in. Because I told myself, if I'm not going to get this by the time I'm 30, there's no point. And that really lit a fire up my ass to get to where I want to be. And so that's my goal here, is to help you guys get in that position where you can feel like life has hope again, where you feel like that you've taken back your sovereignty that has been kind of stolen away from you, from circumstances, from your environment, from big corporations and whatnot. So if you have stuck around to the end of this video, I thank you. I appreciate you. And let's get it done.